Hey, happy Wine Wednesday,
Happy Wine Wednesday.
travel edition.
Travel.
So Carl Boucher here is traveling where? Where are you right now?
I'm traveling to NOLA, New Orleans, Louisiana. So I
Good
have
evening, Carol.
a couple legs already done. I left early this morning from Kelowna, Vancouver, Vancouver, Denver, and I'm now in Denver, Colorado, where I'm waiting for my delayed flight to get to New Orleans. So
Yeah, it was a crazy
yeah.
night. So apparently they had some problems with their computers down in the States. So there were like what 1,200 canceled and delayed flights this morning, but you seem to be getting through. So this is really good.
Yeah, no, I was expecting much more of a ma'am, to be honest. Is
Fantastic.
I'm seeing some impatient people here in Denver. I see maybe the tension coming a little higher than, but so
It's
far
really,
so.
really too bad you couldn't just crack open a few bottles of Canadian wine right there in the airport and have a little tasting, right?
Well,
Everyone would come right down.
that's their that place called Vivolo. It's a kind of a wine bar, and I should have took a picture of the wine list, and I asked to talk to the manager because there was no Canadian wine in there, and he said, "Canadian what?" No, just joking.
Awesome, awesome. So
Well,
while you're traveling this morning in the wee hours of the day, Carl recorded us a really interesting little clip about comparing his top 10 of over 1,000 wines tasted last year, all Canadian, to the international standard, which is the Wine Spectator top 10 that came out this last fall. And this is a wild idea, but we wanted to talk about this for a long time because actually, Carl's background is in international wine, right, Carl? Like you spent over 25 years doing international wines. So we were reading the Wine Spectator top 10 and he starts rambling off all these stories and cool facts about each wine. And I'm like, how do you know this just off the top of your head like that? And so I said, you got to sit down
well,
and
and,
this.
and if you put that in perspective, Canadian wine it's new to me. It's barely like it's just like a little spit in the ocean
Yes.
in my wine career. I spent 25 years. I mentioned often like doing pretty much like too many people do, meaning just overlooking what we're doing here in Canada. And at the moment that I fell in love with it, it was like, okay, I have so much to learn about that field. But yeah, it's just to me, just getting back to the Wine Spectator thing, it just felt like a coming like a homecoming to me. And you like you mentioned, it's seeing like HTV and Beaucastel and Fattorio de Barbie. Like it's like wines that and Tignanello. Like it's wine that I not only uh, like promoted, sold, serve, and all of the aspect of the business, but I also had some very personal experience with these wines, uh, especially that number 10 from Wine Spectator top 10, that Cristal Roderer. You'll see. You have to stay in and listen to my story. And if you ever want to know more about it, you let me know. But it's a pretty crazy story when you have to deliver a $35,000 bottle of champagne in a private jet across the country. So, no, this is my stomping ground, international wine. But the dream here for you, Mira, and I, it's to take where we're at with our world class Canadian juice, the world class Canadian wine, with our top world class Canadian wine producer, and make it as big as what they're doing with Wine Spectator. We're dreaming at these big tasting. We're dreaming at these big side by side tasting. We're dreaming at these big tour, and like it's all possible. And I think that's what we're doing with the Canadian Wine Challenge, to bring as many people on board as like like the, to bring people with us on that train, to believe at what we're doing, what we have to offer can compete with what the international wine business has to offer. And this then that top 10 wine spectator versus Carl's Wine Club, top 10 top 10 wine of the year. I mean, like, there's nothing. Uh, it was nothing like not an exercise of trying to prove people that we're better than anything. That was not the point. It was just so exciting for me to go one by one and see the difference in between. But shockingly, at the end of the day, the gap is not too wide, and in certain spots, in certain place, there's no gap at all. So yeah, so that was
That's
kind of
very
fun.
exciting.
And there's just what for people, Mira wanted me to record a little 10-15 minute video, and I sat down, and it was probably like 1:30 a.m. and I ended up just starting to chat to myself because it was me in front of my camera and for 45 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed that little recording. I might be like blurry at some point. It was pretty late. I had a few coffee in, so
I listened
anyway.
to the whole thing and it was awesome. And I'm really looking forward to learning about this. Because me, as someone who started drinking wine during the pandemic, married to this guy who only drinks Canadian wine as of 2 years ago, or tastes it, shall I say. Um, I don't know much about international wine, so I'm excited to learn from this. So thank you so much, Carl Boucher, for traveling and leaving us this fun piece of content here. I'm gonna play it now, and probably when we're done, you are gonna be in the air.
Oh,
So good luck,
absolutely. They're just calling me now to board. So
Monsieur
people,
Boucher of Carl's Wine Club.
yeah,
Get on
exactly.
your plane.
Please open your luggage. Want to make sure that you're not bringing too many Canadian wines to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Or well, I hope
Good.
everyone enjoy and look at our top 10. And most of these wines are ready for sales. And I know that our little small producer are really excited to connect with all of our members across the country. I had a few texts today from some of our people that we're featuring, and they are thrilled about the work that we're doing. And they say it goes a long ways for them to have their product featured and promoted across the country, because it's not easy. It's a big country. And it's a fairly complicated system. So I know that we have a lot of
Yeah,
grateful people uh, working with us. So everyone
totally.
enjoy that short 45-minute video, and
Yes. And I'll
enjoy.
circle back to this at the end, but we've had lots of interest in the barrel of the 2020 Colleen. This was Carl's number one wine. He'll talk about it later. And the 2016 was his number one. Sold out, of course, but the 2020 still in barrel. One of those barrels is for us, and members have.
Primeur. So in future, it's the first time that it's been done here, and it's really excited that Graham Rennie, owner and vigneron at Graham Rennie Estate, is on board with all that. And it's just so freaking excited to be able to offer the best wine among 1,200 wine that we've tasted this year, offering the new version. And by the way, 2020 vintage, it's the best vintage, especially for these type of wine. The 16 was spectacular. The 2020 has even more potential. So yeah, so cool,
So
so cool,
excited.
so cool. So I have to go.
Okay.
They've been like I have the American here yelling at me. So
Yeah, they're not as polite as us up in Canada.
I no, 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 not really, not really.
All right. Well,
Okay,
safe travels. We'll see you real soon. Cheers.
okay, bye bye.
Cheers, Canadian wine lovers. Yep, I'm far and away, but I'm here with all of you. So I want to wish you a great um, happy hour, Wine Wednesday. So I wanted to do that for quite a while now. When doesn't matter what you do, your sports, you're in business, you always try to compare yourself to the best in the biz. So for me, I've been in the wine industry for now 25 years over. Wine Spectator has always been something that I was a subscriber to Wine Spectators for many, many years. The magazine, I have piles of Wine Spectator magazine. Mira bugged me for years. We moved 3 times. And every time she was asking, what are we going to do with all of these pile of darn magazine? You're never going to read them or this and that. But my point is, I look at Wine Spectator on a yearly basis. I like to see what's hot. I would like to see what's the trend. I like to see how they operate. But there's one thing every year that I don't want to miss. And I start always at their countdown. It's the top 10 wine of the year. They're top 100. They're very famous. They have started this. Every wine publication have their top 10. Every wine bloggers have their top 10. We have our top 10. But you know what? It's fun and it's great for your followers at some point to have a sense of orders. A sense of from top to bottom, how the sense of appreciation and what's at the top, what's near the top, so I personally love that, always wanted to do that. We've been doing it since the first year of Carl's Wine Club. We have some amazing wines in our top 10, but I always want to look at what Wine Spectator will release every year. What's going to be their number one wine of the year? What's going to be their top value wine of the year? And the whole thing, how much the wine costs. So you know what, because I was going away and we're looking for an idea to give Mira some meat on the bone, some stuff to talk about. We release over the weekend on Sunday our top 10 wine. Wine Spectator does it in December every year, just before Christmas. So I'm like, you know what? I'm starting to look at that Wine Spectator top 10 and I'm starting to cross-reference about what we've done, what I've released, what they've done, and I'm trying to find, like I'm finding like some stuff like just jumping off the page to me, like some similarity, some stuff completely different. I'm like, you know what, Mira? Just give me the camera. We're going to do something about my top 10. No, not my top 10, our top 10. Carl's Wine Club, top 10 wine of the years. And I want to compare, I want to show our wine lovers, our Carl's Wine Club members. I want to like show them a little bit of my thought, my comp between what we've done and between what they are doing. This is the biggest publication in the world. Robert Parker, the wine advocate, or James Suckling, Wine Enthusiast, the Decanter magazine, they are all pretty much like all of the top publications. To me, one that I look up the most, it's Wine Spectator. And listen, everyone has their idea, right? There's that topic of advertising, right? Who gets the highest point? How much do they pay for advertising? That's funny because all of the biggest wine producers in the world market their own brand in Wine Spectator. This is not free. This is the most expensive publication to put ads on. And when so there's that topic, like how much do you pay to get the review? But at the end of the day, these wine journalists, like Jeff Sanderson, formerly James Suckling used to be at Wine Spectator, but all of these guys who reviews these wines, doesn't matter how much, well, yeah, it does matter, but at the end of the day, how the wines who are on these lists are pretty darn freaking good. These are world-class wines, some of the best wines in the world. So I'm gonna just sweep off the rugs, the marketing, the money, and just focusing exclusively on what's on the list this year at Wine Spectator, the points that they've been given, the price point of the bottle, because there's something seems pretty similar between Wine Spectator and what we do as well. And the way I rate the wine is they have consideration for the price point. and you will see it this year is one of the best example. So this, and we'll talk a little bit about production. The size is completely different between what we're seeing in Wine Spectator Top 10 Wine of the Year and our Carl's Wine Club, because as you know, we are talking exclusively Canadian wines, 100%. So how about the comp from between Top 10 Wine Spectator versus Carl's Wine Club? We got a representation of the world, the entire wine world with Wine Spectator, and here in our microcosm, in our awesome freaking cool bubble that we have here, it's 100% Canadian wines. But I would like to put that out there, and let's do it. So Carl's Wine Club Top 10 Wine of 2022 versus Wine Spectator Top 10 Wine of 2022. Let's do it! Ready to rumble! I am here with Wine Spectator, okay? I'm spilling my wine because I'm excited. So by the way, it's, you see my teeth? I just tasted a bunch of Desert Hills wine. That wink, wink, nudge, nudge is going to be in a couple weeks. We're featuring our first feature of the year will be Desert Hills from Oliver Black Sage Bench. So this is their 2020 Merlot. Kind of a little bit of a fruit bomb here. One of the fruitiest wine on the lineup that I'm tasting. So that's the one I have here. Just to swirl and smell. And now we're talking Carl's Wine Club Top 10 versus Wine Spectator. Okay. Let's review what we've done on Sunday. My top 10 wine of the year. I had 5 honorable mention. We're going to skip that. And the top value, we're going to skip that. I just want to do top 10 versus top 10. So my number 10 was 7 Direction Tractor and Vines Pinot Noir Rosé from BC. 7 Direction Wineries, they're located in the Similkameen Valley, but the Tractor and Vines Vineyards right here, 500 meters from the house in Summerland. 100% Pinot Noir, 1.5 acre small vineyard, single varietal, rosé, $25, best rosé in the country. Number 10. Number 9, I had let me get back here. My number 9 is Fogelar. Fogelar from Ontario. It is a sparkling ice wine. Riesling sparkling ice wine. It was so cool that I couldn't pass on that. Just too cool. The foam, the mousse is just so amazing. So 94 points for my Fogelar sparkling ice wine Riesling. Number 8, I had Maverick Estate from Oliver, BC at 94 points. Mira Special Selection, their Bush Vine Syrah 2019 vintage. Number 8, I had 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 7, I had 13th Street 2015 Première Cuvée Méthode Traditionnelle, so champagne method. To me, I called it in April best sparkling wine that I've tasted this year. And this is Jean-Pierre Collat, outstanding sparkling winemaker out of Niagara, 13th Street. Boom. Number 6 is Black Hills Ipso Facto 2020 55% caps, 50-50 caps of Syrah. Black Hills, one of the staple, one of the iconic winery from the south of the Okanagan. So at $60, 94 plus. Number 5, Bellaterra 2020 Cabernet Franc, 94 plus point, $45. One of our favorite winery in the country from the 4 Mile Creek appellation in Ontario at our number 5. Number 4, now we're getting into the big dogs here. Number 4, we have number 4, yes, Mount Boucherie, the Original Vines Cabernet Sauvignon 2019 vintage. grapes from the Similkameen, amazing purity, and 95 points, $50, and number four. Number three, I have the best Chardonnay, the top BC wine of last year at 95 plus, Da Silva Winery. A 95 plus points for $75 out of the Naramata bench right here across the lake, and like 75 cases production. Okay, number two, one of the top winemaker in our country. This is Chardonnay from Thomas Batchelder, the 2019 Wismer Foxcroft Nord at $55 a bottle. This is 96 points, incredible purity, Burgundian style, bam, 96 points, number two, and our top wine of the year, my 96 point plus from the Beamsville Bench appellation in Ontario. This is Rennie Estate, a Appassimento wine, 100% Cabernet Franc, at $125. This is my number one wine of the year. Okay, so let's give me a little bit of number here. Okay, my 10 wines, if you want to buy 10 of these wines, it's $575 for the 10 wine, tax in. Okay, an average of $57 a bottle. $57 a bottle. Average points, 94 plus. That's the average. So ballpark, I think it's 5 wines from Ontario, 5 wines from BC. Just happened like that. From BC, 1 from Kelowna, very well spread out across the valley. So nice representation for our two main wine regions in our country. I have 2 Chardonnay, 1 Appassimento, 1 Syrah. There's 1 Rosé. What else? 1 blend, Syrah Cab. So a sparkling dessert wine. So multitude of different style of wine. That's for our top 10. In here, I would say consistently every year, my 3rd year, I have made it every year, twice with Nota Bene. This year it's ipso facto. 13th Street, Montboucherie is our second time. The first time had a Syrah Reserve. Now it's the Original Vines Cabernet. Bellaterra, we had them on our best value wine one year. Now we have them in the top 10. So some new, some wines coming back, some winery coming back, but a little bit. So for me, I went from top score that I had, and all the way down to my top rosé made it to number 10, even if I had other 94. But I really thought that was worth of a top 10 because it was the top rosé across the country. So a little bit about our Carl's Wine Club, Mira and I, our top 10 wine. We tasted around 1,200 wines this year. Every single wine that we've tasted, we had a score on, and we keep everything here ready just in case we need what we need for the at the end of the year. So everything, when it hits 93 point, it's all put in a separate folder, waiting for the end of the year when we review our old tasting production, if I can call it that way. So another thing, some wines like the Da Silva, 75 cases produced. Our top wine of the year with Rennie has 50 cases produced. Seven Direction, 60 cases produced. And if we talk about big production, Mount Boucherie, I had maybe 230 cases produced. Batchelder with 2019 had a really good production of this one. He made 125 cases of that. So just to give you a sense of size of our producers compared to what we're going to talk about in a few seconds on the international level, and the one who made the top 10, Wine Spectator, because we're going to talk about average points, pretty much the same, a little higher on Wine Spectator. Average price, we see a big difference in terms of representation around the world. Let's go straight to the Wine Spectator, because I'm going to start here with number 10. And they started with a big splash. Their number 10 is the very famous Cristal Roederer, one of the top champagne. Cristal for 300, 400, 500 years. I don't know. Cristal has been one of the top, one of the most prestigious. This is the 2014 vintage. It's retail around the $360 US. And in the States, they have imported 10,000 cases of that Cristal 2014 last year. Let's put it that way, 10,000 cases who made their way to the United States. We don't talk about anything who's going to Asia. Everything has been sold in the local market in France. So what's the production total for Cristal 2014? I don't know. I would say 25,000 cases, maybe. That would be my guess. In my career in international wine, Cristal was the most expensive bottle that I sold to one customer. One bottle of Cristal, I sold it for $33,000. Yes, $33,000 for a 5 liter of Cristal held in a golden cage. Guess what? We had to deliver that bottle to a client in Toronto in a private jet. I'm not shitting you. Yes. So that's my story with Cristal. Number 10 at the top 10 Wine Spectator this year. Cristal made it consistently in their top 10. I'm pretty sure they have made it to number 1 some years, but this is for the 2014 vintage. $360 US, 98 points. Number 9, it is the 2018 Quilceda Creek Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon. Quilceda Creek, I would say one of the classic staple from Washington State, one of the luxurious Cabernet from the state. To me, this is the top chain Napa Valley in terms of recognition, probably, and consistency. Quilceda Creek every year makes it to the top 100 up there. So the 95 point this year, Quilceda is around the $200 US dollar a bottle. Just to give you a sense of size, they produce for the 2018 vintage 5,200 bottles. Cases, sorry, not bottles, cases. 5,200 cases. It's probably like 10 times the total production of our old top 10 together. But big, robust. What I like with Quilceda, well, what I like, not my style too much, but fun fact, 100% new oak. French oak, but 100% new. So there's no here, there's no hiding, there's nothing question mark here. Do they like to use oak or nothing? Do they like the purity of the fruit? No, this is bang in your face. It's tannic, it's big, it's grippy, and it's cellar worthy. At number 9, we have Quilceda Creek Reserve Cabernet. Number 8, Fattoria La Pupille. I love what Elizabeth, I have a hard time pronouncing her last name, but Gapetti, I believe. So this is a super Tuscan wine. So super Tuscan, just to put you in perspective, from the region of Maremma, in Tuscany. It's a coastal region where they have decided to plant Bordeaux varietals. So that's where you'll find some of the famous producer like, come on, Carl. Mira, if Mira was here, I would say, come on, Mira, you need to help me here. Sassicaia, here you go. So Sassicaia is from the Maremma region. This is from the classic Super Tuscan. When in the 70s, the Tignanello of the world, and these producers said, you know what, we're sick and tired of producing Sangiovese. We want to do something different. We want to produce some Bordeaux varietal. And that's Fattoria Pie with their Super Cap Franc. There's a splash of Petit Verdot in there as well. And this is $100 wine. Super Tuscan are growing in price a lot in the last 10 years. 96 points, Wine Spectator. We're talking about probably 6,000 cases production. Yes, 6,000 cases. Yes. But I had $100 US. So now we're having Italian. So we have number 10, French, number 9, US. Now we're going to Italy for our number 8 in Tuscany, in the region of Maremma. Number 7, let's get back to France for a classic Bordeaux in Saint-Julien appellation. A classic 60% cab, 60, 30, 10, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Petit Verdot or Cabernet Franc. But what we have here is Chateau Talbot from Saint-Julien. Very well priced, $60 US that we have here. It's a 4th growth Bordeaux, I believe, 4th or 5th. This is not the big guys. We don't have one of the first growth in the top 10 this year. There's no Rothschild, there's no Latour, there's no Margaux, there's no Petrus or anything like that. So it's much more mainstream. It's much more eclectic, I would say, this year. There's a little bit more of the off the beaten path producer. But Chateau Talbot, one of his first, I think, if I'm not mistaken, probably his first top 10 at Wine Spectator. We're talking about a 96 points, 100. Oh, a Talbot here. Oh no, it's not Talbot. Made a mistake. Number 7. Shit. Sorry. Talbot is at number 4. Okay. So number 4 at 95 points at $65. But I need to go back to my number 7. It's one of my favorite, Châteauneuf-du-Pape from France. It's Chateau Beaucastel. The chateau was known to use the 13 grape varietals in this blend. But now 15, but for 100 years, producing a Châteauneuf-du-Pape red, you were allowed to use 13 different kind of grapes. And Beaucastel was known to use the 13 of them every single year. The Perrin family, who they also partner with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie in the Miraval project in Provence. Brad doesn't make wine. Angelina doesn't do viticulture. It's the Perrin family, Jacques Perrin and his son. So the Perrin family owns Chateau Beaucastel, one of the most consistent producer of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Big, bold, but often a little bit more ready to drink than other of their, like if we talk about like Rayas or I don't know, Chateau Montfaucon, or there's so many great, outstanding, like Le Vieux Donjon. Beaucastel, big and bold and juicy, and very consistent every year. So on number 7 this year, it made it to the top 10 Wine Spectator countless times since 1988 when Wine Spectator started. So this year, 96 point. They have exported to the States 3,500 cases, and it's $120 US. I remember early 2000 when I opened one of my restaurants, Beaucastel was at $50. Now it's $121. So, yeah. Okay. So number 7 from France, Chateau Beaucastel, Chateauneuf du Pape. Let's go to number 6. Let's go to Napa Valley with one of the staple at Robert Mondavi. This is the 2019 Estate Mondavi. Fruits from Oakville appellation, right around the St. Helena. We'll call it in the flat of Napa Valley. Oakville has stunning fruits. It's not anything mountain fruits like we'll see with Mount Vader, Owl Mountain, or any of these mountain fruits, but just below the Stag's Leaps. Great fruit in Oakville. Some of the most famous Colleen vineyard, Beckstoffer vineyard are right around the area. So Mondavi 2019, the estate, they produced 13,500 cases. You see, like if you compare what we've done with Girls Wine Club, our top 10 at 70 cases, 100 cases, 200 cases. Now we're talking about 13,500 cases. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon. I don't have the details. I'm not sure if it's 100% Cabernet. I know that anywhere in Napa now, they like to throw a little bit of Petit Verdot in there or a little bit of splash of Merlot, but they're allowed to do 75% of their grape varietal that they announce on the bottle. So if it says Cabernet Sauvignon, we need to know that there's at least 75% of Cabernet Sauvignon. The rest, it doesn't have to be disclosed by the producer. Many of them do, some of them don't. If we compare to Canada, it's 85% of the main grape advertised on the bottle. If I compare what we've done with Mount Boucherie, so Mount Boucherie Original Vines Cabernet, it has to have at least minimum 85% of Cabernet Sauvignon. If it was made in Napa Valley, you allow 75%. Our Mount Boucherie is a 92 Cabernet 8 Merlot, I believe. I don't have the disclosure here for Mondavi, but it's a well price for Napa Valley price these days. It's at $85, 85 US dollars when we're talking about 110, which is a affordable price for Napa Valley Cab, and it would be at one of the top price for Cabernet Sauvignon in Canada. It would be the second most expensive wine on our top 10. At 110 here, it would be the second or the third cheapest of the Wine Spectator. So just to put that in perspective as well, right? So let's go to number 5. We're talking about Super Toscan. We're talking about Staple. We're talking about Tignanello. The Tignanello they were at the very forefront of that Super Toscan movement. So this one we're talking this year at number 5. It's the 2019. It got a 96 points by Wine Spectator. They have exported 10,000 cases to the US market this year, and it's retail now at $145 US. Tignanello, again, one of the most recognized Italian wine, super hype. It's the younger generation know Tignanello. Been the chance to do multiple vertical of Tignanello. I remember one of them to really stand out for me was 2006. So anyway, fan of consistency. I think that's the name of the game when we're talking about Tignanello. They've been so consistent since the 80s. They've built their brand that way. At number 5. Number 4, that's the Chateau Talbot from Saint-Julien that I skipped, that I mentioned earlier instead of Beaucastel. So this is already our third wines from France in the top 10. So let's move already to number 3. Let's skip this one. We already talked about it. So number 3, it's a Chardonnay. Just like my number 3, a Chardonnay. I love that. At 96 points. Mine was 95 plus. $78 for theirs. Mine was at 75. 2,500 case production. Mine was 50. Or mine was De Silva, and here we have HDV Chardonnay. So very, 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 very cool story here with HDV Vineyard. It's H for Hyde's Vineyard, one of the top, most sought after vineyard in Carneros, right on the border, Sonoma, Napa Valley, to produce top appellation to produce Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Arguably, I love the Chardonnay from Russian River Valley in Sonoma, though. But Carneros, the Hyde family, has grown grape there since 30 years, and the DV, say HDV from Aubert de Villain, owner of Domaine de la Romanée Conti in Burgundy, the most expensive wine in the world, the most classic, the most known, the most awarded wine of all time with Domaine de la Romanée Conti, Pinot Noir, and or Chardonnay. Guess what? They've married their kids together. The Heights family married one of the Villain. And so this is a kind of a family affair now. California, Burgundy. So top wine, the top wines from California and the Chardonnay. I've tasted Heights HDV couple times. This is not Burgundy. Guess why? Because it's not grown in Burgundy. You can have Burgundian style. This is not Burgundy. This is not Romanée Conti, but this is pretty darn freaking good Chardonnay. I'll tell you one thing. Full of texture, very textural, tropical, full body, but also restrained. It's not over oaky like we can sometimes keep in. Like I have these bad flashback of over oaky Rumbauer or Chateau 2x4 that I like to call it. No. Some of the best Chardonnay produced in the States. Now we're talking about a $75 US, so near $100, 2019 vintage. So worth trying it. If you can get your hand on that, try it. That's something that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a bottle of the HDV. The moment that I get one, I'm putting that side by side with my two top 10, my number 2 and number 3 of my list, with the Batchelder and the De Silva. And I want to see it side by side, who's winning. And it's going to be air live with all of you guys, and hopefully very soon. If it's not air live, it's going to be in person all together. I want to do that shit more often, and it's coming. So anyway, that's number 3, Wine Spectator. Let's go number 2, back to Italy. We're going to the Montalcino region, the famous Brunello de Montalcino. So we have a 2016 vintage with Fattoria di Barbi. Very solid producer. I had the chance to go to Montalcino. I visited multiple estate in the Brunello. Beautiful there is. If you like cycling, if you like biking, you bike there. Like, it's just a little bit hilly and wonderful, like vineyard all over. Yeah, special. I had a chance to taste a couple of 100 points there. So unbelievable experience. They make great wines. This is one of the consortio of Montalcino and the Brunello. Started, I think, in 1910, but they have very strict and rigid rules to keep the quality of production very, very high. So $130 US for Fattoria di Barbi Reserva. Reserva means it's been at least 3 years in bottle before release. So there's a bunch of different parameters that they have to respect to get the Reserva classification in Montalcino, as also like they do in the Piemonte, in some other regions of the old world. Or if you look at in Spain as well, they do the same thing. If you go to the New World, like in the States, if you put Reserve or Reserva on your label, it doesn't mean anything. It can mean shit. It can mean nothing. There's no specific rules to put reserve on your bottle. But if you're in Montalcino, absolutely, there's a list of criteria that you have to manage to get that classification. So 2016 vintage, Fattoria di Barbie. They have imported 3,000 cases to the States market, and it's a 95 points. Let's move to their number one. The top wine of the year by the Wine Spectator. Just to remember, mine was Rainy Estate Vineyard, Appassimento, the Colleen from the Adelaide block of the Aaron Pond Vineyard on the Beamsville bench. $125. Okay, 50 cases produced. That was mine. Wine Spectator are going to Napa Valley this year to award their number one wine of the year to Schrader Cellar. One of our very classic names, Schrader from Oakville. All the fruits from Tokalon Vineyard. One of the some people will call it the filet mignon of the vineyards. Tokalon is one of the best of Beckstoffer. So Beckstoffer manage and own some of the most sought after piece of land in Napa Valley. And so Schrader Double Diamond Cabernet Sauvignon is their number one. The most surprising thing of the whole thing here, it's the price point. And for number one, Wine Spectator, the $80 US price tag is like pretty shocking. It's the second wine of Schrader. It's not his top label. It's not his top wine. So the wine you had the top recognition from last year. It's their second wine. So yeah, they produced 10,000 cases of that. It's a little bit like if you look at I don't know, Lafite Rothschild. Well, their second wine is Smith Au Lafite. If you look at the Chateau Margaux, well, they produce the Pavillon Rouge de Margaux. So Latour, they have Le Fief de Latour. So all of these big Bordeaux, pretty much all of the top producers in the world have their second label. Obviously, Mondavi will have Opus 1, but it has the second label of Opus 1. Screaming Eagle has the same thing. So this is the second wine for Schrader. So it's pretty intriguing, pretty interesting to see that the second label of one of the blockbuster producer in Napa Valley gets the top award this year. So that doesn't mean that's often that paying $500 for the top wine means it's the best wine in certain years. So yeah, really, really interesting. So that's the number 10. That's the top 10 Wine Spectator of 2022. Let me give you a few numbers here that so the average, if you want to get these 10 bottles, it will cost you $1,264 US dollar. And an average $126 US dollars. Let's put that in Canadian, okay? $1,680 for the 10 bottles. $168 average. If you compare to Carl's Wine Club top 10 with our awesome top 10 Canadian wines. And some people say, no, Canadian wines are overrated. Completely overpriced. Our Canadian wines are way overpriced. Our beautiful Canadian wine selection this year, an average of $57 a bottle compared to $168, less than 3 times the price. So take that, people who said that we are overpriced. In terms of quality, we have nothing to be shy about because what we have to offer. Do I say that our 13th Street Première Cuvée 2015 is as good as the Cristal 2014? Maybe not. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that the Cristal cost $360 US dollar, so $500 Canadian, and 13th Street is selling, is what it was selling, because they're sold out, their Première Cuvée traditional method for $35. So take that. Right? Do I say that our Mount Boucherie from or original wine Cabernet is as good as the Double Diamond from Mondavi, guess what? I want to see that. I really want to see that side by side. I would not be surprised that blind taste our wine with fruits from the Similkameen Valley might show better than what Mondavi, Schrader Double Diamond had to offer. I want to do that. Hopefully soon I can get my hand on the bottle. I promise, if I get my hand, if anyone who's listen, get a bottle of Schrader Double Diamond, Cabernet from Oakville, 2019 vintage, please, let me know. I'll buy it of you. I'm going to get a bottle of Original Vines Mount Busher, and I want to do a side-by-side. I'm going to invite other people to have other people's opinion. Anyway, I wanted to do that for a long time, so I did it. I hope that you enjoyed it, and wishing you a great rest of your evening, a great rest of your week, because currently I'm down south in New Orleans, and I'm just about to go working. I'm saying working. Yes, working hard. I have a client down there that I have to do some consulting down to the Caribbean. But I'm thinking of you, and I wish I was there with you. But I hope you enjoy my report, my between Carl's Wine Club Top 10. And by the way, just before I go, I want to say another shout out to our number one wine of the year, the Rainier Estate, the Colleen Appassimento Cabernet Franc. Okay, guys, Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, have a great rest of your evening. I'll see you next time.
Well, happy Wine Wednesday, guys. It's the Mira show because, as we know, Carl is midair right now. But I'm really glad that wee hours of this morning he was able to record that little clip for us. I found it super interesting, not knowing as much about international wines at all as I know about Canadian wine. But of course, Carl, having spent 25 years in the industry only with these top international wines, I'm always amazed when he starts talking and knows all the stories and all the terroirs and really wealth of knowledge. So glad that he was able to share that with us. I dropped a link in the comments if you are curious about the tasting notes for the top 10, and if you're curious about ordering. Many of them have been made available again. They've been resurrected from the sold out, because these wineries have dug up their library, and they've said, okay, we have 2 cases left. We have 5 cases left. So there's very small quantities of these top 10 wines available, except of course for the number 1 wine, which Carl talked about, the Colleen, the 2016 Colleen. We tasted that on Carl's birthday out in Niagara this last summer. It was outstanding, outrageously outstanding. Turned out to be his top wine of the year tasted. And of course it was sold out. So the owner of Rennie Estate Winery, Graham Rennie, he has offered us one of the, I think 2 or 3 barrels. There's really not more than 2 or 3 barrels of this wine of the 2020 Colleen. This Colleen wine is not made every year. It's only the really, really good years. 2016 was a great year. Carl's number 1 wine of last year that he tasted. 2020 is known to be the vintage of the century. So we feel really lucky to have first dibs at this barrel of the 2020 Colleen. There it is, a beauty. Carl and I tasted it from the barrel just this past weekend, and it was outrageously outstanding. Carl said, it's not a finished wine. He doesn't want to rate it yet, but he has huge expectations for this wine, the way it stands as it is, and the way it will look maybe in a few months once it's bottled. So you can order this on primeur, which means before it's even bottled, you get a great price break. So instead of $125 a bottle, they're $100 a bottle. And there is a link to order that I've dropped in the comments. So if you haven't done that yet, feel free to email us back. We're going to send another note tomorrow morning about the top 10 wines. So you can just email us back and say, I want 6 bottles, I want 5 bottles, whatever you want, and we'll send you a personalized link to pay. Or you can use the link that is now on the page I dropped in the comments there. So yeah, save the very little bit that's left there for something special. I know some people are using it to celebrate some milestones in the next 10 years. A great wine for that. And with that, I hope you guys have a fabulous Wine Wednesday. I'm going to go back and find where I left my wine bottle and wine glass. So yeah, enjoy your Wine Wednesday. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys next week. Cheers.